The Valentine is today, February the 14th. It's a big day for retailers around the world to cash in on Valentine's celebration, in which expressions of love are made, with exotic flowers playing a big role for a number of economies in need of export proceeds following the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, for Nigerians looking to express their feelings through their pockets, inflation remains a major headwind as retailers have had to increase prices significantly in order to stay profitable. Arise business correspondent Rotu Sodiri went in search of a Valentine economy in Nigeria, and this was what he found.
Valentine's Day is big business for retailers around the world. Flowers are a significant component of sales. In Asia, traders at the Pak Klong Talat Market in Bangkok, Thailand, prepared all weekend for the annual Valentine's Day rush. Wholesale dealers worked through the night as they got ready to cater to demand from supply shops and stall holders. In South America, Colombia's flower producers prepared final shipments of Valentine's Day roses and other blossoms, mostly to the United States, amid predictions that sales will rise once again. Data from the Colombia Association of Flower Exporters shows sales were up 17% through the first 11 months of 2021 to $1.5 billion. Valentine's Day makes up 15% of sales. 80% of Colombia's flower sales go to the United States, with the rest going to Europe and Asia. In Africa, Kenya authorized Ethiopian Airlines Group and Qatar Airways to deploy additional cargo flights to meet extra demand for flowers for Valentine's Day in 2022. The additional flights complement existing capacity by licensed carriers, including Kenya Airways. Data according to the Kenya Flower Council showed Kenya earned $968 million in 2021 from flower exports, up 3% versus 2020. Valentine's Day accounts for 50% of cut flower exports, with 70% of all flower shipments from Kenya heading to Europe. In Nigeria, the conversation around flowers is not one of exports, but price. Flower retailers like Regal Flowers in Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria, have had to increase prices over the past year to keep up with their costs. A set of 20 roses cost 80,000 naira. Last year, those same roses cost 70,000 naira, a 14.3% increase. The founder of Regal Flowers, Oladiton, talked about the increase in costs for the company.
Well, it's been a combination of factors. Unfortunately, of course, the economy as it is, a lot of things have gone up, which unfortunately add up. From importation costs to transportation to power to storage, logistics, and let me come again, power. Of course, they are very fragile, fresh flowers, so they need to be kept air conditioned permanently. Yeah, or else, of course, we know what happens. Yeah, and this all add up.
Nigeria imports roses and other exotic flowers for sales on special occasions like Valentine's Day. The top 5 flower exporters in 2020 were the Netherlands, Colombia, Ecuador, Kenya, and Ethiopia. We asked Oladiton if Nigeria could grow its own exotic flowers in order to one day cut down on imports.
I did, but let me say we are not there yet. A large part of it is the climate. The places where it is grown, they often have a different climate. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but the economies of scale they've achieved, it might not make business sense, let me put it that way, to grow it commercially here in Nigeria.
Another popular Valentine's Day gift item impacted is chocolates. Luscious Chocolates, an indigenous player in the chocolate space in Nigeria, raised its prices on praline chocolates by 53% from 2021 to 2022. Founder Femi Oyedipe spoke on the reasons why and what needed to be done to see prices moderate in the future.
Our Luscious Praline gift box, which was really popular in 2018, 2019, is on our pages, was sold at 8,500. And after COVID happened and we began to experience the exchange rate, inflation, high prices on everything, it impacted the cost of our praline boxes. And that's because we're all aware that cocoa is sold, the price of cocoa is determined by the ICCO. And we make all our chocolates from Nigerian cocoa beans. So that also affected our prices. And for pralines, typically they have infusions in them, they have fillings. And we realized that the cost of everything just went up, from packaging to ingredients, everything, due to the exchange rate. So that's why the price of our gift box went up.
From chocolates to cakes. More of the same in price increases. Cakes and Cream, a bakery and retailer of cakes in Lagos, raised the sales price of a 12-inch red velvet cake by 68%, from 25,000 naira in 2021 to 42,000 naira in 2022. Dele Akinloye, team lead, customer service, explained why.
Majorly because of increase in raw materials, case in point, sugar we used to get for about 9,000 naira a couple of years ago, sells for 20,000 plus, so ordinarily that will affect the output and the cost of production. Some other factors like cost of importation and increase in the dollar rate, the exchange rate, as most of our products are now sourced externally. We import most of them, so it affects the production.
Restaurants have also had to raise prices. In 2021, Ocean 5 restaurant by the Riviera in Lagos offered couples a 5-course meal Valentine special for 80,000 naira. In 2022, the price was increased by 25% to 100,000 naira, with the 5-course meal reduced to a 4-course meal. Niraj Vasnani, partner, head of business development, explained why.
There's a lot of factors that go into it, right? First of all, we opened during the pandemic. So at the time, the price that we set was sort of to try to get people to come and get to know the place and everything. So, we priced ourselves a bit lower at that time as well. But this year, as we've gotten popular, demand has increased. Apart from demand, there's also the factor of things getting a little more expensive in terms of raw materials. So all suppliers, prices have gone up. External factors such as the Forex has impacted, a lot of our procurement. So to in line with that, we've had to increase our prices. But I think more so than anything, it's a demand game, right? As demand increases, you have the potential to to up price yourself and be able to get more people to have that kind of different experience. And
while businesses are passing on higher costs due to necessity, Valentine's Day consumers are making their own adjustments.
I would like to spend less.
Why is that?
Because of the way things are this time around. Things are very, very expensive. If you go to the market to buy things, you see that everything has been increased. So you need to spend less so that you will not fall in the victim.
Chinonso, another Lagos resident, recognizes higher prices but says Valentine's Day isn't about the money.
If the right person is there, if you are with the right person, then figures does not come into play at all. Because the most important thing is capturing an experience with the right person that you can reminisce on forever, rather than just thinking about the figures you spend on a particular day, you understand? Because you know that love transcends every other thing, the money, the place, it is the person and the experience you're capturing at the moment.
Oh, by the way, Chinonso is still single.
Philosophy for Valentine and any other special day is I have to spend it with the right person. For now, I've not found that person. I haven't.
Charmaine understands prices are high, but is still spending money on herself for Valentine's Day because self-love is the best love.
I plan on spending more on myself because it's Valentine's Day. I want to feel loved. I might as well just go all out and do something special for me. If it was last year, I could have, for the same 20K, I could have bought my friends a meal or something. 7,000 naira, I'd have done a good meal for myself with a bunch of drinks. But now 20K and I only get one little meal, no appetizers, nothing. But at the end of the day, it's Valentine's Day. I want to enjoy. I want to feel good, so I'll do it.
Finally, Victor isn't spending any money on Valentine's Day, but it has nothing to do with prices.
Well, I'm spending nothing. And my reason is because for 2 weeks now, my girlfriend has not been talking to me. And even till now. So I think it's God's doing for me. Maybe after Valentine we'll settle, I don't know. But for this Valentine, I'm a free man. I'm spending no dime.
All right, so we started with flowers and we might as well end with flowers. We are at a Valentine's Day event that's being held by Newton and David Florists. They've been in the business now for about 3 decades. Charlie Boy is one of the special guests here at this event held in Victoria Island on Akia Dishola. Sir, Happy New Year. Good to see you. What brings you here?
Happy New Year. The same thing that brought you here, flowers, Valentine.
And we've been talking about how prices of flowers, chocolates, cakes have been rising. Do you, for this specifically for flowers, do you think we can ever see a day where Nigeria domestically grows its own exotic flowers?
I want to believe that Newton and David have started growing theirs, you know, so I don't know how they're doing it, because I know that some time ago, like about 4 or 5 years ago, everything they did around flowers was imported, but I don't think that's the case now. You know, so we should find out from them how they're doing theirs.
We heard it from the man himself, Charlie Boy, improving domestic production for flowers in Nigeria, hopefully to lower Nigeria's import bill. Are you going to wish a happy Valentine's Day to Nigeria?
Yeah, I wish everybody happy Valentine, even though I don't know what the hell that means, but I have a question to ask you.
Yes.
So what does Valentine mean for you?
I think it means celebrating loved ones. I think that would be
loved ones. So
yes.
There's just one day in the year you celebrate your loved ones?
I've heard this point. Actually, you have a good point. It should be 365 days of the year.
Precise.
But I guess the extra
we'll
for the
bring
14th.
out one day that we say is Lovers' Day.
Aha. We can work with that.
Good luck to you all.
For Rise News, Rhoda Sodiri. Happy Valentine's Day.
Joining me to discuss this, YORINDE Akinloye is an associate investment research at United Capital. Good evening, and thanks for coming through, YORINDE. I hope you haven't broken up with your girlfriend or so. She hasn't broken up with you for whatever reason it has. So hold it there tight, my friend. It's a new year. How much of this Valentine economic value chain do you think is really available for investors in the Nigerian marketplace?
Well, really, I wouldn't say we have quite a lot of exposure to some of these Valentine-based economic companies. Basically, we don't have, for example, we don't have lots of horticulture or florist companies listed on the stock exchange, for example. In terms of any exposure we have, it would be mainly from the sugar point of view, or for companies that produce chocolates also. But when you look at the entire value chain of the Valentine economy, really, there's not so much presence of that segment on the Nigerian stock exchange. And again, there are several reasons for that. When you begin to look deeper into the participants within that segment, right, you begin to look at the fact that some of them may not operate on that scale where they will be able to list officially on the stock exchange, considering a lot of that segment in the economy is still very much informal and not so formal. So it's not a lot of access that investors, it's not a lot of exposure that investors have to the Valentine economy, but for the few, basically it's more of the sugar-based companies and companies that also produce chocolates for exports in Nigeria.
Yeah, it looks like the primary a symbol of Valentine is a rose flower, something like that. So, and we don't really grow that here. I mean, you saw in Rhoda Sodiri's report there, those 5 countries who are the main principal exporters of flowers to Nigeria. That's a whole lot of our foreign exchange, my friend.
Yes, definitely. We incur a lot to import most of these exotic flowers, and even beyond just the flowers, so many other items. Yes, we produce a couple of chocolates locally, but we also import quite a lot of chocolates. We import a lot of exotic flowers, basically to meet the demands for the Valentine's Day, basically, and it's definitely a big strain on our import bill and foreign exchange as a whole. Again, you look at the horticulture sector, or let's speak more to the floriculture side of horticulture. But that's the segment that deals with production of flowers. We've not recorded significant development on that front over the past years. Number one, yes, primarily is down to climate conditions. because, for example, climate conditions in Nigeria does not make it very conducive to produce some of these flowers. Number two, you also look at the requirements from a business point of view, the amount of investments that will be required, and then also the support systems in terms of soil, type of soil, in terms of inputs to produce those kind of exotic flowers. When you look at those key support systems, we don't have them locally in Nigeria, which makes it difficult for businesses to look at growing them locally. As a result, we've had to rely significantly on importation of these exotic flowers to meet local demand. And definitely that's another major contributor to our growing import bill. And when you look at the fact that global inflation, the inflation environment globally has been, quite very hot over the past 8 to 10 months, then you can understand the fact that we are now even spending more to import some of these exotic flowers. And by the time we begin to see trade numbers for Q4, for Q1 2022 in particular, we'll definitely see the impact when we break down those numbers further.
We'll break those numbers. Try and construct a Valentine index for me, my friend. Okay, so let's get my pen here, by the way. So we're going to do a very small exercise you talk about. So if we're going to build a hypothetical package of a Valentine stock index, give me some names on the exchange that will qualify into that. I'm going to help you by starting with maybe Cadbury. Give me other names.
Yes, maybe Cadbury.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, Dangote Sugar. Dangote Sugar will be an interesting one for cake and also chocolate.
Yes.
Also, flour mills. Flour mills will be interesting. Flour in the for cake, sugar also. Flour mills would be interesting, and then other flour producers too. So Honeywell flour will also be interesting on that front. Beyond the sugar companies and flour companies, really, we don't have so much, except to now begin to look at companies that maybe produce items for gifts, like for gift items, for example, maybe you begin to look more at some consumer goods names. But beyond that, it's more of the chocolate companies, the sugar companies.
What about packaging, my friend?
Well, so the type of packaging. So we have some packaging companies, but the major packaging company we have locally would be Better Glass, than they deal more
Nampak,
with packaging.
Nampak, something like that. Nampak,
yes, yeah. Exactly, yes. So it's really difficult, and it speaks more to the first question that you asked about how much of exposure is the Valentine economy on the Nigerian market. And the truth is, in trying to construct an index now, we can see that it's not a lot, right? We have very huge limitation on that front because...
Okay, so you got Nestle. If you have Nestle and Cadbury, for example, then you've got Dangote Sugar and other sugar makers, then the flour mills, Honeywell flour, then you've got... Bois should fall into somewhere there, isn't it?
Yes, Boa Foods.
So Boa Foods will fall into that. Okay, so if you technically you have about 6 or 7 companies, that won't be a bad idea. Please go ahead.
So when you look at this, the size of that market that they have exposure to, it's not so significant, because the biggest commodity in the Valentine economy is flowers, and we don't have any company on the Nigerian Stock Exchange with that kind of exposure. Yes, the chocolate segment is quite big, but when you compare it to the flowers, and other gift items usually associated with the season, then you would see that we actually don't have that significant exposure. And then even when you speak about Nestle's production is not really into the chocolate raw cocoa format. They deal more with the finished products, which is the chocolate drink mainly. Whereas Cadbury, yes, they have the presence in the intermediate cocoa product segment. So even I would argue to remove Nestle from the index.
So maybe FTN cocoa processing then.
Yes, FTN cocoa processing.
Okay,
yes.
I just added that to the list. Okay, fine. I think at the end of the day, we might just sit down together and build what you call a Valentine index. Maybe some folks will just buy into that. And then you see how that grows on a daily basis. It's got to be an innovative managed funds. The first, I'm going to call it the Love Index. What do you think?
Definitely, very, very interesting. Very interesting. But again, we look at the volume of stocks that you can play around with in such index. You know, you're quite limited. We've mentioned just about 6 or 7. Yes, and quite a number of them are liquid. So maybe Dangote Cements, flour mills. But would represent something quite interesting, particularly if the Valentine economy continues to grow bigger, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange is able to capture a larger segment of that market. Then it would be interesting to have such specialized exotic exposure.
You first give it a try. Thank you so much. I talk about the NGX. YORINDE AkINLOYE, Associate Investment Research at United Capital. Thank you so much for your time, and do have a lovely Valentine evening.